Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Spill the Tea. I'm Keisha, and this is
Nicole.
Yes, and we are bringing it. We've got a special one for you today. Actually, this one is like you can call it a double episode because it is so full of information. Wouldn't you say that, Nicole?
Oh, yeah. So we just decided we had to record something to let you know you're in for a treat. Our guest is amazing from the U.S. Naval Academy, and it is like 2-in-1. So sit back, get your food, get your coffee,
get something
or your
to
tea.
Drink. Yeah, don't spill the tea. Just drink the tea. But definitely, if you are interested in a military academy, not just the naval, this is a really great episode for you. And he had so much information. We had to keep it going, man. So please, welcome to Spill the Tea episode, Naval Academy.
Enjoy. All right. So today I'm very excited that we asked Don Emmerman, a blue and gold officer, to join us today. So we are very excited to have him on. Yes.
Nicole, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm talking to you from actually North Carolina, where we're on a short trip, and it's 41 degrees, so it's not 87 like it is at home. Would you do you want me to just give a very early introduction, a little bit about me? Okay. I have been a blue and gold officer for just shy of 30 years. I actually served in the Army, but many years ago, I have a real passion for helping young, ambitious high school kids who want to maybe take it to the next level as they look at colleges. And in my role as an admissions officer for Navy, I see kids one-on-one, and then I also chair 2 congressional boards that interview the candidates for the academies. And I've also served on the senatorial board for 6 years. So I see 3 kids at 3 different levels. And I have helped young people get into West Point, the United States Air Force Academy, and also Merchant Marine, as well as Navy. But I was asked several years ago if I would just represent the Naval Academy, and I said yes. I want it clearly known, I am not an Academy grad. I graduated from Indiana University and did my postgraduate work at the Kennedy School at Harvard. So, but I have been doing this long enough and have answered so many questions over the course of years that I think I've got a pretty firm grasp on that would be helpful for kids that are interested in attending Navy.
That's awesome, Don. We so appreciate you being here and hearing about all the people that you've helped out. Thank you so much for your service, and hopefully for recommending really great people to all these places for us. Yeah. and today, one of the biggest things that we deal with, Nicole and I, we work in different high schools, and this show is about sharing that information with the students and getting, just the foundation of what this is all about for them, because you'd be surprised. There's so many students that have no idea of how to get involved in this and what this is about. So kind of run through with us what, a student that is going toward the Naval Academy or any of the academies, what they should be doing to prepare.
Great starting question, Keisha. I once had a mother with her young daughter who was at an all academy presentation. And this mother, I think, was more interested in having her daughter go to Navy than the daughter was. But the interesting thing about that, she kind of stormed up to me and she said, "Mr. Emmerman, just what exactly is Navy looking for?" And I told her, I said, what we're looking for is academic patriots. And I can't summarize it any better than that. We're looking at kids that are coming out of high school that have started thinking about this, many of them as early as their sophomore year.
Wow.
And so this isn't something that students should think about just in their senior year. They need to be really putting the pencil to the application in their junior year. That's when it starts, and it is something that is a continuing process for your junior and senior years. If a student were to contact me in, say, October of their senior year of high school, they're late. It can still be done. It can still be done, but the application process is open between the summer between the junior and senior year. So I think the timeliness and that early warning that I would say to candidates is extremely important for them to understand. The actual Naval Academy Admissions Committee, it's made up of 12 members of faculty and staff at the Naval Academy. They start reviewing fully completed applications submitted by candidates on September 1 of the senior year. So, and I would tell you that the students or the candidates that are students at that time that we hear from, it shows their ambition that they reach out and want to attend the academy. We have to do very little recruiting. The kids that I've worked with over a number of years, they've all found me, or they found me through their counselor at schools. And I mean, I've helped young people who are friends of ministers at church or friends of attorneys or whatever that live in California. I mean, I've helped kids from a long way away, and I love doing that. But these are typically ambitious kids that see what others don't see much earlier in the process. So I want to stress the timeliness of their interest.
So what would they have to start doing in 10th grade? So say 10th grade, they decide they want to be a part of the Naval Academy. What would they have to start doing in 10th grade?
Nicole, they cannot in the 10th grade, they cannot then start the actual application process. But what they can go to is they can start formulating interest, or by going to the Naval Academy's website, which is usna.edu. And it is a full website that gives application timeframes. It gives all the activities. It lists the majors. It lists just a lot of the early qualifications. But again, the youngest person that I ever dealt with actually spoke to me when he was in the 9th grade. And he graduated from Boone High School. I'll never forget this young man. A.J. Hansen was his name. He was a systems engineering major at the Academy and is a member of SEAL Team 7.
Wow.
So I've had another young man that I really remember well, Kenan Miller, that came out of the First Academy. He graduated in mechanical engineering from the Academy, and he is a member of what are called the Marine Raiders, which is the Marines complement to SEAL teams.
Great. So 10th grade, they start gathering interest. And then what happens in 11th grade? What is the procedure?
In 11th grade, the grades that the kids have in 10th, 11th, and 12th grades, those grades are looked at over those 3 years. And particularly the junior year grades are very important, because it's the first chance that we as admissions officers have a chance to look particularly at the PSAT and the SAT scores. And the SAT scores, I cannot emphasize enough how important those are. And we only look at math and verbal. Math is of particular strong emphasis. We generally see, and I want to just look here at one of my charts on one of the profiles, the SAT math score, the middle 50th percentile, typically runs from 620 to 730. That's the 50th percentile, okay? The SAT verbal runs from 610 to 740, 50th percentile.
So you're not really looking for anyone sharp at all.
Well, Keisha, that's that is, when I made that first statement that we want to see somebody that's an academic patriot. Navy is primarily an engineering school with heavy on the sciences, and I've seen kids get in with high 1200 scores. But if you're 1300 and north, if you're 1400 and north, you're what we would term highly competitive.
Okay.
I have a young man there now, Bert Fletcher, and then I want to talk about a couple of women that I have. Bert came out of Boone. He had a 1560 SAT.
Okay.
He had a perfect 800 in verbal, 760 in math. But he also had so many Eagle Scout, Boys State, math tutor. I mean, he had a lot of other things that were there. But let me shift gears here to a couple of women. Batten is a graduating senior at Navy this year. She came out of the Apex program at Olympia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she was if I remember right, Allie was a very high 1300s score. She is graduating and going on to become a naval aviator. She is pretty she could be a model. She's so pretty, but she held 2 jobs while she was in high school, and she was a national pistol shooting champion.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Sarah Myers is another young lady that is there. This is Sarah's first year. Sarah had a 1540 SAT. She was significant. She was actually a teammate of Allie's on the pistol shooting team, but she was also the Cox on Olympia's rowing team.
Wow.
And has played in the Florida State Symphony Orchestra since the 8th grade.
Wow.
So I think, I've just given you a snapshot of 3 or 4 kids, but it is their academics. The academics at the academy are pretty challenging. Let me just quickly shift here. I've got a when you get to the academy, when you get there, you have to take exams again to see if you can test out of some of the first year courses.
Right.
And I'm looking for a particular chart that I thought I had. First year at the academy, your required courses are calculus, chemistry, leadership, literature, history, naval science, and then it's in your first year that you start to decide what your major subject is going to be. So the math right off the bat and the chemistry or the physics is very apparent. And we have, I've worked with a number of candidates that are just absolutely spectacular, but they have men and women who have lower SAT scores, say sub 1300, but they're so strong in other areas that Navy and we're asked if we think it's a good thing to recommend them to the Navy's prep school. It's called NAPS. It's the Naval Academy Prep School. It's up in Newport, Rhode Island, and it is a full academic year of getting prep for the heavier engineering loads that you get when you get to the academy. And so when you do graduate from the Navy, and I think like 85% of the candidates that go to NAPS end up getting a full appointment to the academy. And then they start as a plebe.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're looking, again, I stress that we're looking for that academic patriot, the kids that love their country, and we'll talk about it.
Which it's amazing. I mean, just the ability to be able to try and get into these places, and of course, something I was going to ask about earlier, the cost is free to them. Yes. So that's a plus. You have these kids that just, especially when I see them in ROTC, it's so nice to see how they are true patriots. They really want to be a part of this. And the academic side is one thing that we touched on, but they're also training so hard physically. Can you get into a little bit about the physical side of things that they
Sure.
need to?
Oh yeah,
reach?
right. And let me that's a great segue into this subject of this. These are I'm going to give you the top four factors on the composition of each class. 92%, and this number doesn't vary, Keisha, from year to year.
Okay.
92% of the kids that enter Navy have played varsity athletics. Okay.
Nice.
Second highest, 90% have extraordinary community service.
Mhm.
And the third one is 74% have either been a captain or co-captain of a varsity team. And let me just stop. And number 4 on the list is National Honor Society. And that number is like 67%. But the whole issue of sports, and I lost you there just a minute. Hold on a minute. Let me find out where'd you go. Are you still there?
Yeah,
We're still here.
we can still hear and see you.
It might be your family telling you to stop interviewing and come back to vacation. I don't know.
Now, hold on just a minute. Wait a minute. I'm trying to. Let me see here. Hold on a minute. Nope. I see part of you, Keisha.
Oh man, I hope it's the good part, Don. I don't know.
It is. Let me, as long as you, I guess, as long as you can see me, I'll just go ahead and continue. But the whole issue of varsity athletics speaks of team, and team. That's what you become a member of the Naval Academy's brigade. The whole issue of co-captain or captain speaks to leadership.
Right.
So those are early signs of what shows in a candidate's background. And sports, let me just zero in on that on the physical conditioning side. We want to see that you have played maybe 1 or 2 sports consecutively for 4 years. We don't want to see that you played baseball 1 year, then you shifted to basketball and, oh, I'm going to try tennis. And we don't want to see that. We want to see that.
Commitment, dedication.
Yeah, bingo. And believe it or not, Nicole, we see a lot of comments by coaches.
Oh, wow.
Speak to the value of leadership. I have a candidate right now that is just extraordinary. All of what she's done, 500 community hours, and she's co-captain of a rowing team, which is a year-round training. But Keisha, to your point about getting ready, there is a candidate fitness exam that each candidate must pass, and it's not administered by us. It's typically administered by the coaches at their schools. And I think it consists of a mile run, so many pull-ups, push-ups, a basketball throw. And the issues with that are you have to pass that candidate fitness exam.
Right.
I remember I had a candidate one time. He was just fabulous. He was all academic. He was just a monster of a guy. He weighed 270 pounds. He was a football player. He could not pass the pull-up test. He could not haul that 270 pounds of body over the pull-up bar.
Right.
And he ended up going to Duke on a full scholarship.
Oh, wow.
But physical training is really necessary if you're going to get into the academy, because when you arrive as a plebe, they're gonna test you again, and then during plebe summer.
Can you describe a little bit about what plebe is for those of them that are unaware?
Well, plebe is just the name that's given to you're just kind of the low boy on the totem pole. At the Air Force Academy, you're known as the dually. And I don't know where that came from.
I was going to ask.
If you're a plebe, that's when they cut your hair. They give you the little Popeye teacup hat. You're in summer whites. Everybody looks alike. And but plebe summer is that you typically report into June, and plebe summer ends around the end of August. So it's about 8 weeks of learning how to march, learning how to respect authority, learning how to be out on the parade field for physical fitness PT at 5:30 in the morning after you've already made your bed, and your bed needs to be made. So
Wow.
Sounds like a great day.
Sounds like an early day.
they're early days, but during plebe summer there's a lot of physical training that goes on. But I know there's a 3-mile run every morning, 5 mornings a week. Okay, and in the middle of plebe summer they throw in a 6-mile run.
Oh, just for fun.
Why
Just
not?
for fun. And I'll throw in just this little pearl. Oftentimes there are kids that get injured, but that still doesn't exempt them from physical training, because if you injure your leg or something like that, you're going to do physical training in the swimming pool.
Okay.
Wow.
So I would tell you again, you don't see very many overweight people entering the academy, and there are always those that are going to be slow runners. And if you get into the academy, they are just going to bust their chops up there to make sure that you stay there
Gotcha.
because of what you've gone through to get qualified.
Wow. And there is Keisha told me about it. So we watched a YouTube video on like their first day. Thank you for sending that to me, Keisha.
Yeah.
From the Navy, like their first day at the academy.
Oh yeah,
kind of how strict it is.
Yeah, it's a life-changing experience, Nicole.
Yeah.
you get your parents bring you up there. They take home the clothes that you wore, and there is a swearing-in ceremony on what is known as Tecumseh Court, which is right outside of Bancroft Hall. It's a very, very solemn thing. And let me tell you, each Navy class every year is somewhere between 1,200 and 1,250 candidates. I mean, kids that have said, yes, I'm coming, and they're there. And then they march into these enormous doors at Bancroft Hall, which are typically slammed shut when the last one is in, and there it begins. There's the in your face saying, walk straight, you think you're a leader, but we're going to teach you how. Some of the things that you learn respect for leadership, you learn respect for authority, you learn an awful lot about just being one as a team.
Yeah. When in watching that video, it was life-changing for me. I knew I probably made the right decision at one point in time. I actually thought about that in high school, and like the big fellow you were talking about, chin-ups was not going to happen. And I would run to the mess hall maybe, but I don't know, about 6 miles. But when you are talking to the students, what are some of the things, like, I guess a lot of them are always curious, what's the best thing they can do to stand out, to be that kid that they say, yes, come on in? What advice would you give those kids?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I think it's an important question for kids coming out of high school. How can they set a differential advantage, is what I would call it. I would tell you by their certainly by what they've accomplished academically, that's going to stand out. By their willingness to serve, to demonstrate that they've served, by their willingness to be open to listening. I remember one young man that was coming in for a congressional interview, which is a real important experience. This young man came in, he was a graduate, I think maybe of Trinity Prep, and he came in and his mother came with him and combed his hair. And when he came in for his interview, he kind of slouched in the chair and he said this, he said, you know, I really don't know why I'm here today. Have you read all of what I've done? And it was kind of downhill from there. But I think learning how to be at ease and express the confidence that you need to have to go forward in this process. You know,
So can you
go ahead, Nicole.
We never did. We want to make sure that we do go back to the actual process, because I know you're talking about like the congressional interview and stuff. So we just want to make sure that we go back to what they need to be doing and when as well.
Right. Okay. But I want to answer Keisha's other question. I think that kids need to be themselves, and they don't need to be. There should never be presumptive entitlement in their minds. We've had. I remember we had a young man that came through. He was the son of a national sports star in this country. Mm-hmm. And he presumed that he could ride on the laurels of his father. And it's all what Keisha, it's all what Nicole have done. It's all what the candidates have done. And it's how well, I think oral communication and confidence are key factors in being able to demonstrate and be able to say who you are and why you want to do this. Mm-hmm. But Nicole, let me change over and get to your process, or get to your question about the process. I talked earlier about the timing. Mm-hmm. The application is available online. It's all online at usna.edu. Great. And it is fairly comprehensive. It requires a personal statement written by the applicant. It requires letters of explanation, if you will, or letters, recommendation letters from at least your math and your science and your math and your English teachers. Wow. Those are requirements. The application also requires any kind of letters of recommendation that you can bring to bear. Oftentimes that's from friends. It can be from ministers or priests from church. It can be from business people. Those are very, very, very helpful. I tell a lot of my candidates, is there anyone that is not a relative, but anyone who is active duty military or retired military that can speak on your behalf by recommendation letter? Because those people know all about leadership, following the chain of command, and how to earn your way in the military services. Wow. And I want to also say the Navy application is just one of two applications that must be completed. The other one is a nearly duplicate application that is done and filed on time with the congressional office or with the senatorial office where you choose to have your interview. I can tell you that in the past, on the senatorial or on the congressional board, we do not accept late applications. We do not accept or review incomplete applications. They must be on time and complete. And it is maybe a first step after high school when the real world of having to meet deadlines becomes really important.
Yes, sir.
And some kids learn it the hard way.
Mm-hmm. But I'm really glad you've been talking about that, because a lot of the students, you know, especially at this point in time, you know, we're in a weird time being online and doing everything online, and they're expecting a lot of leeway with things, but this is not something that you can expect that with. And I think it's a big choice for them. And speaking of choices, you know, I know you're mainly with the Navy, with the Naval Academy, but what kind of advice can you give the students if they're trying to choose between academies, like which one they should select?
Well, my direct answer to that is go Navy, beat Army. So,
Love it.
but no, I've done that for many young people, and I have to listen to what's important to them.
Right.
And many times they'll say, you know, well, my aunt or my uncle, or other times they will say, you know, I want to fly. Other times they will say, you know, I don't mind being on a ship, or I've always wanted to be on a submarine. I have a young lady now that I'm working with who wants to be a naval aviator and fly with the Blue Angels.
Wow.
Okay, now the Blue Angels actually have their first woman that doesn't fly the jets. She flies the big supply plane. But
Okay.
so I would tell you, listening to them, if they say I want to fly, I can say, well, you know, you can that's an opportunity at Navy. It's also a greater opportunity actually at Air Force. It's a little bit less at Army at West Point, but a lot of the candidates also know. I'm surprised. A lot of them recently want to know where they want to go,
Right.
and there are an increasing number of graduates from Navy, men and women, Keisha, that want to go to the Marines.
Really?
Yeah, and you know, when you think of the Marines, you think of the Marines maybe as the ground pounders, but no, they have really some other very, very sophisticated activities within the Marine Corps. I've had in my history of doing this, I can just think of a couple gals that graduated from Navy that went on to be on board ship. It's called surface warfare. I've had 2 or 3 that have been in subs. Navy only put women in subs probably within the last 5 or 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And there are actually, and you could appreciate this, there are height restrictions for submarine warfare.
Oh.
For men and women, yeah. And there are actual height measurements for naval aviators. You know, you can't really be just super tall, but you can't be short either.
Right. Right.
Your legs still have to hit the accelerator pedal.
Yeah.
But let me speak to one other academy, and it's the Merchant Marine Academy. There are, and we interview for that, not at Navy, but we do at the congressional level, and that is a absolutely superb 4th choice, and that is where you learn about the Merchant Marines. You know, the captains that run the tankers, that run the supply ships. It's awesome, and you can actually graduate from Merchant Marine if you want to fly. Wow. And have a greater opportunity maybe to become a pilot coming out of Merchant Marine than a highly competitive Naval Academy or Air Force opportunity would be.
Wow. So with all these questions going forward, like if a student's trying to decide what branch, or if they want to do the Naval Academy, or who does the student talk to? Like their local recruiter, or is there someone special that can help a student kind of guide the different programs or branches or the process?
You know, Nicole, I think recruiters, if you talk to an Army recruiter, they want to get you into the Army, you know, and or Navy the same way. You know, I've had kids or parents call me from all over the country, and I've talked to them, but I also tell them right up. I said, is your son or daughter on the phone, because they're going to be the candidate.
Right. Right.
Okay, and that's so important. And what I can do is oftentimes is explain the curriculum that's at Navy, and they'll say, well, you know, I mean, that's interesting, but I think I really want to fly, you know, or I've got a couple young men that are, I think, on their way to eventually becoming astronauts. You know, And I did have a female a couple years ago, Keisha, who became a naval aviator but didn't qualify for the astronaut program. So I think, again, just listening to what they want to do, but then explaining, at West Point, there's an awful lot of military strategy, and it's a ground mounted force, with infantry, with artillery, with intelligence. Those are things that require different kinds of levels of expertise.
Gotcha.
So do they all contact you? So
Nicole,
contact wise, please call Don.
Nicole, I think that there are, I have various schools that I work with. For instance, there is a blue and gold officer assigned to every high school in Orange and Seminole County. So I think the guidance counselors, like Wheezy was the one, Nicole, I think, that contacted you. And but there is, in my instance, I cover Oak Ridge, Boone, Olympia, First Academy, and I'm thinking there's one other school, though that may just be the four. But kids within that realm, within their schools, can contact their own guidance counselor, and if each of us have done our jobs, the guidance counselors know who we are. The guidance counselors at the schools I mentioned, all of them know Don Ammerman. And I take calls. I take calls, but if I was to take a call from, say, a student from, let's say, Jones, or let's say Timber Creek, I would probably say, I can answer your basic questions, but it's in your best interest to talk to somebody who is assigned to your school. And that's the way it works.
Yeah.
It works best that way.
Now, Don, I know last year, of course, we were all quarantined in our houses, but the year before I had the pleasure of going to a military academy fair. Do you know if they're going to have any of those coming up, at least virtually?
Keisha, I have not heard of any of those, and I think I would know if it were going to happen. Oftentimes, one that I attended that was widely attended, it was a couple of years ago. Darren Soto, the congressman from Osceola County, put it on. I traveled down to Kissimmee for that. I remember another one that was fabulous that Orange County Schools put on a couple years ago, that was held in the new basketball arena, and there were colleges from all over the country.
The College Expo.
Tables, and that was, Nicole, that was fabulous. That was, and we had a lot of kids that stop by the table, and they can fill out information cards, and they can get information from the academy.
Yeah, and the one that I attended was actually in the football stadium, Camping World Stadium, and it was really really nice. And actually, that's where I heard about the Merchant Marines for the first time, and it was really great. What I liked about it was the fact that there were a lot of family members there, parents there, that represented the branch where the students were, and I'm hoping that we can see something like that again, so that they could learn a little bit more and get a chance to meet you like we are right now.
Well, it's an honor to me to spend some time with some of these kids that are really interested. And I have parents or friends of friends that know what I do, that will not know me, but they say, hey, so-and-so recommended, and can we have coffee, or can we? And I said, yeah, but I don't want to have coffee with you as a parent. I want to meet your son or daughter.
Right.
Because they're the ones that have to absorb the passion of wanting to do this. And that brings me to, I don't want to skip over this. Here is a typical snapshot. It's called the profile of a typical class at Navy. And the number of applications that Navy gets every year typically runs from 16 to 18,000 applications. And the students are applying for one of 1,200 to 1,250 slots.
Oh, wow.
So in this particular year that I'm looking at, this would be the year that for the kids that are graduating this year. There were 16,300 applications. 12,000 of those were men, 4,200 were women. Offers of appointment, that is kids that have been offered the opportunity to come to the academy. There were 996 offers to men, 308 for women. And of those 1,376 total, 1,214 said yes.
Wow.
Okay. Most of the kids that come through have received, and most of them have come through that have received a congressional nomination. And I want to be sure and touch on that. The academy is nearly 25% female now.
Wow.
And one of the things that I tell young men that are going there, I said, the worst mistake you can make starting on number 1 day of plebe summer is to take your women classmate friends for granted. Because I said, I've seen many of them grind faces into the sand on doing push-ups, on running. I mean, they're well-prepared women for the task of becoming a naval officer.
Great.
There are racially and ethnically, there's white, Hispanic, multiple races, Afro-American, Asian American, American Indian, Native Hawaiian, and international. And I need to mention that in the class of say 1,200 to 1,250, there are always at least 12 to 15 foreign military officers from their countries back home that are granted and go through 4 years at the United States Naval Academy. They start as a plebe, even though they're a military officer back home.
Huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a, and there, Nicole, there are some that come from the active duty Navy that gain admission. And let me take a couple more minutes and let me talk about the congressional interview. I mentioned earlier that there is a second application that must be filled out and received on time and complete into the office of the congressman who is the congressman of the home location of the candidate. I live just south of Orlando Health, and the congressman for that area, it depends on where you live, it's either going to be Val Demings or it's going to be Stephanie Murphy.
Okay.
And Dan, you know, the congressional lines were recently redrawn a couple of years ago, so the student must find out who their congressional representative is, and those congressional offices are the ones that have the applications or the access to the application that must be filled out. And the application, once it's received by the office, all the Air Force applications are put together, all the Navy applications, West Point and Merchant Marine. And there is the candidate will be notified on a date specific, and sometimes it's a Friday and a Saturday, when they will appear at a specified location, and they will appear before a nominating board.
Wow.
Okay.
And I chair and have continued to chair Dan Webster's nominating board. When Dan used to have a lot of the area that Val has now, I chair a board that's made up of 9 members, and we interview candidates for all academies.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
The board that I chair for Val Demings, Val has split. She has an Air Force Academy board, a Naval Academy board, a West Point board, and we at Navy also interview for Merchant Marine.
Wow.
Okay.
So you're sitting in front of a group of, say, 7 to 9 people, and they're going to ask you questions, and it's nothing you can study for. And I tell all my kids that I know that are coming, I said, I want you to be as relaxed. You're going to be talking to friends. And, but it can be a hair-raising time when you walk into a board, and the interview is anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes long.
Yeah.
Pretty important 20 to 25 minutes of your life.
Sounds scary for me, let alone a high schooler. Man.
Exactly.
So they're doing that their junior year then? Is that when they
No,
contact the Congress?
it is a great timing question, Nicole. That is always done. Those congressional interviews are actually scheduled in the middle to late fall of the senior year.
Okay.
So in other words, you've heard me say that I try to encourage my candidates to have their completed application in the Navy. I want it in the Navy to be seen by the admissions committee no later than October 1st of their senior year.
Okay.
And then around Thanksgiving or before Christmas is when the congressional interviews are held.
Okay.
Now, kids can also choose to apply in addition to a congressional, which they don't have to take. They can put all their eggs in one basket and try to take a senatorial interview.
Wow.
Senatorial boards are much the same, but they're much more highly competitive in terms of the sheer numbers of people that want to get in. Your chances, arithmetically, your chances are better taking a congressional interview through your House member than they are a senatorial board.
And you can't do both. So you can't put in
you can do both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can do both, but there's separate applications for each one.
Oh,
Gotcha. Well, Don, this has been such an interesting interview. In fact, I'd love to ask you more questions, but unfortunately, we're running out of time. But what I would love for you to do is, if there's any words of advice for the parents, the students, anything else you want to add to, just encourage our kids, or, point the kids that want to go into one of the academies in the right direction.
Well, I would tell you that the kids really need to have faith in themselves. And this cannot be a parent push. That can become very apparent. And that is not a good sign. We've seen that. And so really, I go back to my first statement. We're looking for academic patriots, and the patriotism really comes, it's love of country, it's wanting to give back, it's wanting to service beyond self. If kids think that they can meet a test of being mentally, morally, patriotic, physically fit, and serve their country, and then after graduating from Navy, be a responsible citizen in this country and serving government or wherever, that's what we're here to prepare them to do. And I'm more than willing to spend time with a candidate that exhibits that type of thing. No one has ever gotten into the Naval Academy on the heels of something other than their own prowess, their own abilities. Although I will tell you this short story. John McCain, Senator John McCain, graduated last in his class. And he had a son that was a roommate of one of the kids that I had in the academy that graduated back in 08. And the roommate said that McCain's son was just exactly like his dad. But he still graduated. He got out. He became a great hero. But it is, you see all types. You really see all types, and there are friendships that last for a lifetime. Last for a lifetime, and you will know an Academy grad, be they West Point, Air Force, Merchant Marine, or Navy. You'll know them when you see them and meet them.
Wow. And one thing we didn't mention though is, don't they have to commit for, was it 5 years after they graduate from the Navy to be in the Navy? Great question,
Nicole. Yeah, there is a 5-year commitment after graduating from the academy, unless you're a naval aviator, and that's 10 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Great.
This has been
a ball.
Oh,
Yes,
this has
you've been great,
so
Don. Thank you
informational.
so much.
Yeah, you are awesome. Thank you so much, Don.
Okay.
And maybe we'll have another chance where we can sit down and talk a little bit more, maybe get some really good stories, especially if you have any about John McCain. That should be interesting. So,
Well, I've got other stories I can tell you, but that'll be over coffee at Panera.
you got it.
Let me give you my well, Nicole, you know how to reach me. If seriously, if you guys want to meet sometime for lunch near downtown, or are you on an hour lunch period or what? I mean,
We
Well,
take what we can get these days,
yeah.
but yes.
okay. Well, reach out. Maybe the next month. I'd love to sit down and maybe there's some stuff I've missed, but I think we've covered a lot of good things. Okay,
Yes,
but
you've been
again,
great.
we're looking for academic patriots.
Yeah,
Got it.
I love
it.
that. I love
Mhm.
that statement. I love it. Thank you so much, Don.
All right,
Yes,
y'all have a
thank
great
you.
day.
You
By
too.
the way,
Enjoy that
The
vacation.
temperature has dropped 1 degree since we've had this.
Come on back down, Don. It's hot down here.
It's probably
Not
5
again.
degrees hotter here.
All right, take care.
Thank
Thank you.